stranger changed his life forever, and he never saw it coming. Jacob Reed sat on a cracked plastic bench at the downtown bus station, his hands buried deep in the pockets of his threadbare jacket. It was late November, and the chill of the night air cut through the thin fabric like knives. His backpack, battered, overstuffed, and falling apart at the seams, sat beside him like an old, tired friend. He hadn't eaten a proper meal in 2 days. His last paycheck was gone, his phone battery long dead. His dream of becoming a teacher now felt like some cruel joke the universe had played on him. Above him, flickering neon lights buzzed faintly. People rushed past, bundled in heavy coats, faces turned away. No one noticed him. No one cared. Jacob closed his eyes and leaned his head against the freezing metal pole behind him, wondering how long he could survive like this. Then, a voice broke through the fog at his mind. "Hey, mind if I sit here?" Jacob cracked an eye open. Standing there was an older man, maybe in his 60s, wearing a thick wool coat and a kind, weathered smile. In his hands, he carried 2 large paper cups. Without waiting for an answer, the man sat down beside him, setting 1 cup down between them. "Coffee's still hot," he said, offering a small nod. Jacob hesitated. He had grown used to suspicion, to people either ignoring him or assuming the worst. But something about this man's voice, calm, unhurried, genuine, made him reach out, wrapping his frozen fingers around the cup. The first sip almost made him cry. It was sweet, strong, and warmed him from the inside out. They sat together for a while, without speaking. The man didn't bombard him with questions or make him explain himself. He simply waited, giving Jacob the space to breathe, something he hadn't felt in weeks. Finally, Jacob found himself talking. He told him everything. How he had moved to the city for a teaching internship that fell through when budget cuts hit. How rent piled up, jobs dried up, and friends slowly stopped answering calls. He spoke about the nights spent sleeping in parks, the humiliation of begging for odd jobs, the slow, crushing loss of hope. The man listened quietly, never interrupting, only nodding occasionally. When Jacob finished, feeling both lighter and more exposed than he had in a long time, the man smiled gently. "My name's Thomas," he said, reaching into the inside pocket of his coat. He pulled out a slightly crumpled business card. "Community Outreach Center, 3 blocks north of here. We got beds open, hot meals, and we help folks find work if they're ready." Jacob stared at the card, not sure whether to believe it. Was it real? Was there really somewhere left he could go? Thomas stood up, brushing the creases from his pants. "Come by in the morning," he said simply. "We'll be there." And with that, he disappeared into the night, leaving behind nothing but the fading scent of fresh coffee and a thin rectangle of hope. The next morning, Jacob almost didn't go. Doubt gnawed at him. Was it a trick? Would he be turned away? But something, some small ember inside him, pushed him to his feet. The community center wasn't much to look at. Chipped paint, a faded sign. But inside it was warm. Volunteers bustled around with trays of food, piles of clean clothes, and kind smiles that didn't look forced. Thomas was there too, talking animatedly with a young woman at the front desk. When he spotted Jacob, his face lit up. "No better day to start than today," he said, clapping him on the back. They found him a room, a real bed, and over the next few days, helped him craft a new resume. They even offered him clothes for a job interview at a local tutoring center. Jacob was terrified walking into that school office. He thought for sure they'd see through him, see how lost he felt inside. But he remembered what Thomas had said. "You're still standing." And somehow that was enough. 1 year later, Jacob now stood in front of a noisy classroom, markers in hand, leading a reading session with a group of eager kids. He had his own small apartment now, savings tucked away, a daily life that felt full and meaningful. Every Thursday evening, after school, Jacob returned to the community center, not as a client, but as a volunteer, handing out coffee and sandwiches to anyone who needed them. Sometimes he would sit quietly on the same cold bench outside, handing a warm cup of coffee to a stranger and simply saying, "Hey, mind if I sit here?" Because he knew, one small act of kindness doesn't just change a day. It can change an entire life.